All right, everyone, welcome back to our Fresh Finds class. I'm Shayna, one of the dietitians. Very excited to have you along today. And if you're looking at this picture and you see the snow, you might have a lot of mixed emotions, right? You might be one of those folks who are loving snow. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Or you might be like, Shayna, I am so over this. What are we doing? Why are you talking about this? Whether you are on Team Snow or Team No, it's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of neat things to talk about today. So just bear with me no matter which side you're on, okay? Um, so how we're going to break this down today is first we're going to have a little bit of fun. So much fun, actually. I'm going to be asking a lot of poll questions. It's going to be a good time. Some trivia questions in there too. And then we're going to get into the actual nutrition part of today's class with 5 fresh finds for your snow days, okay? And we'll chat through those fresh finds and what that really means here in a moment. But before we do, right, let's have so much fun, okay? Let me pull up some polls for you here. The first one, we just got to get this out of the way so I know where everybody's at with this. How do you currently feel about snow? And I'm using the word feel because this is a strong emotion for some, right? Are you still loving it? Are you over it? Or maybe you've just never really been a big fan of snow. It's just not your cup of tea. Um, I'm kind of surprised by the results right now. We were starting out strong of like 50-50 of both loving it and being over it. But now being over it is kind of winning out. And I'm going to tell you guys, I'm in that boat. Yes, it's pretty. Like in December. And then even in January, you're like, okay, still weather appropriate. But now you're just like, can we move on? That's how I'm feeling anyway. So let me show you guys where you are at with this. Being over it, that's winning out. Go team. Yes. For those of you who are still loving it, I'm happy for you, right? I don't know if more is on the way. I know that different areas in our viewing region got different amounts. I heard from Zach that it was snowing in Carlisle this morning where the headquarters office is. So I don't know. I don't know, but let's try to just have fun with it and I'll ask you some more questions here. Okay, so here's a little trivia question for you. So second to Alaska, which US state gets the most amount of snow yearly? So Alaska wins out, all right, but that's one that I thought most people would get as number one. So which state is number two? And I will say they're all very close, okay? And some sources might say some different things, but there's a consistent one that I've been seeing. So which one do you think gets the second amount of snow here? I'll give you just another second. In Pennsylvania, I would say Pennsylvania because I feel like it's just been snowing all the time. But it's not us, guys. It's not us. Okay. Let me end the poll here. Share the results. A lot of you saying Vermont. It is actually Vermont's neighbor, New Hampshire. Okay. I guess there's a certain mountain. I should have remembered paying attention to the name. There's some mountains in New Hampshire in particular that collect quite a bit of snow, and that's how their total is just a few inches above the others from what I was finding. Okay. So New Hampshire is the one that wins out there. Okay, now let's get into some science. Yes, if you've been hanging out with me for a bit, you know I'm a bit of a science nerd. So let's check this question out here. How many sides or branches, arms, whatever you want to call them, do snowflakes usually have? Okay, a regular plain Jane snowflake. How many do they have? And if I would not have looked this answer up, I would have gotten it wrong. I would have, based off of how I draw a snowflake, which isn't very well. But yeah, I'll give you another second here. and we'll see where we're at. Isn't this snow much fun, guys? Yeah? All right, let me show you where we are here. Most of you said 8. Correct answer is actually 6. Okay, it's like a hexagon, and that is how the water molecules form when they freeze. It provides the most sturdy structure for the snowflake. It is 6. Okay, so stop sharing that. And then we have one more trivia question here. And the question is, what color is snow? Is it white? Is it blue? Is it clear? Is it gray? Does it depend? That's not an answer on there, but what are your thoughts based off of the answers given? What color is snow? Give you just another second here to answer. All right. When this poll, share the results. So almost half of you got it correct here with clear. So here's the scoop with snow, all right? Snow is actually translucent. It's not transparent, meaning that light does not directly go through it clearly, okay? Transparent means that light is going through and you have a clear picture to the other side. Snow is clear in terms of the sense that it's translucent. So whenever you get all these snowflakes that are stacked on top of each other, snowflakes are clear and transparent. But whenever they lay on top of each other, then they start to cause that clarity to go down. And when sun hits, or any type of sun or light hits those snowflakes that are all piled up, the light shatters off of it. That's what translucent is. It shatters off of it into the whole color spectrum, which then cancels out to that white color that we see. Okay. If you go on Jeopardy and you get that question right and you win, just remember your friend, Shayna. Okay. That was so much fun. It was. I'll stop saying that now because I'm sure it's getting annoying. Let's go on to our 5 fresh finds, okay? And I have done snow day classes before, and I've gotten really into the feel of like hot chocolate and making soups and like all of these things, but I'm over it. Okay, so this is my snow over it edition of fresh finds that we should have on hand for a snow day. Now, I tried to still keep that vibe. I tried to keep the vibe of like, hey, maybe a lot of these things should be shelf stable in case we lose power. But I wanted to give us some new ideas, which kind of goes into this next slide here. If you've been hanging out with us for a while, you may have noticed that we've gone from a switch on our Tuesday classes solely from Produce Spotlight to Fresh Finds. And you might be like, well, what does that really mean? And it means anything, okay? Which is really cool for us and for you because now you get a variety, okay? So when we do these fresh find classes, you might be learning about a literal fresh item like we used to do all the time. So like what Charlotte did last week, where she talked all about National Cabbage Day and she presented that actual fresh food item. But you could also take that word fresh into a different direction in terms of maybe it's a unique product. Maybe fresh is in the context of being new. So a new idea, perspective, or a new way to use a product, or maybe a new to you discovery with a product or a recipe. So that's kind of what I leaned into today for our snow day class is some fresh ideas to bring to your snow day since we've had so many and maybe you're over it. Maybe these fresh ideas are some things that you don't usually think about stocking up on for a snow day, but still will work. And also, hopefully the snow is over. I think it's just good to learn about some of these different products too, to keep on hand at any time of the year, really. So let's dig in to number 1 here. First, almond butter. If you Google what should I keep on hand in a snowstorm, things like peanut butter are going to come up. Why? Because number 1, it's shelf stable and it's protein. Okay. Also some good healthy fats. So if you've been with us for all of our Living Well series during the month of February, we've talked all about the importance of good fats for our heart, Almond butter, of course, is going to have that too. But the big one I want to focus on is that if we're in need of a shelf-stable protein during a snowstorm, your power goes out, something like almond butter is going to be your friend. So not only can you use it for sandwiches, but it can be a mix-in for things like oatmeal and smoothies. I love to bake during a snow day, so adding them to your baked goods, maybe instead of making peanut butter blossoms, you make almond butter blossoms. Um, it also can be turned into a savory sauce. So if you enjoy cooking Thai food, where maybe you would make a peanut sauce, you could do something like an almond butter sauce, would work nicely too. So let's take a gander at the nutrition facts on the back. Okay, so once again, it is a heart healthy fat. So fat does mean calories, so you are going to see those numbers being a little bit higher. But once again, the fat in here is that good unsaturated fat. In this particular almond butter, there is 0 added sugars, and you're getting 7 grams of protein. As you can see at the bottom, the only ingredient is dry roasted almonds. I know some folks keep almond butter in their fridge, but it's not necessary. The only reason to put it in the fridge is to prevent the oils from separating. So it is still a shelf-stable product, okay? So just throwing that out there. Now, I have a lot of folks say to me, almond butter, I do almond butter because it's healthier than peanut butter. So I wanted to show these like comparisons here. They're very similar in the way of calories and fat. This one in particular, no added sugar. Still getting the protein. You're actually getting a gram more. So if you're someone who made the switch to almond butter because you felt like it was a healthier option than peanut butter, I'm here to say that it really depends on the peanut butter. If you go for something like our Nature's Promise, unsalted creamy peanut butter, then it's the same profile pretty much as the almond butter. Okay, so in that sense, it's just a matter of taste. Which one do you prefer? Where we can get into trouble with peanut butter would be ones that do have a lot of added sugar, but they're not all like that. Okay, so definitely check out the label, see what you're getting, and then it can just come down to, do I like the taste of peanut butter or almond butter better? I wanted to throw in a little bit of recipe inspiration for the products that we're talking about today. And doesn't this look good, right? Is anybody else ready for s'more season? I know I am. But the thing about s'mores is that you don't always have to do them over a fire, right? I have made s'mores in the oven lots of times, so I think that this can be perfect for a snow day. If you're cooped up, you have the kids there, the grandkids, make s'mores in the oven, add something like almond butter or peanut butter to them so we're getting some protein to balance out the sugar. I think some chopped up strawberries or raspberries would also be lovely in here. And it kind of gives you that hot chocolate feel, I think, without necessarily going that direction. So I think this looks heavenly. All right. So almond butter was number 1. Number 2, pink lady apples. I know, I told you this was going to be a wild ride today. You might think I'm a little crazy, like, oh, it's a snow day and I'm going to go buy some apples, in particular, pink lady apples. But I wanted to give them their moment. Here is why I think you should have them on a snow day. And that is because they are a top contender for what we would consider to be an all-purpose apple, meaning that you can use them for snacking, for salads, for baking, for cooking, what sauces, whatever it might be. We'll get into that in a moment. Honeycrisp, it's usually number 1 that meets that all-purpose standard. But I feel like everybody gets the Honeycrisp, okay? And most folks know about them. So I wanted to do a little something different here with the pink ladies to say that they are just as good. They are shelf stable on the counter for 1 to 2 weeks. So you lose power, you still have some fresh fruit. If you don't lose power, you can store them in the fridge for 1 to 2 months. And then, of course, most apples are a cold storage item that can last even longer than that. But they're going to give us a great deal of fiber, especially if you leave the skin on. So a good one to have on hand. Like I said, very versatile here because they have a very complex flavor profile. You're going to get that sweetness, but then also some tangy notes. And it holds up really well in terms of shape. So if you're baking a pie, they have a nice firmness. They're going to hold that shape. Um, they still work very well in something like an applesauce, especially if you want like a chunkier applesauce. This is one that I would really recommend for that. So a good one to have on hand. And like I said, activity wise, during a snow day, something like an applesauce session, putting it in the slow cooker, I think can be really yummy and fun for the whole family. Also, I already mentioned I love to bake during a snow day. This is one of my favorite recipes from Savory. This is an apple galette. I have made this before in classes. I've made this before on media. It is an apple pie, but simplified. That kind of rhymed. I didn't plan that. But anywho, it's a very easy recipe if you're someone who loves pie, but you've never made one before, or you're intimidated by it or whatnot. This is a rustic pie where you're just taking a pre-made pie dough, layering those apples in there. There's not a whole lot of added sugar to this, and baking it open-faced like that. Highly recommend this recipe. Okay, number three, I know, another crazy one, cherry tomatoes on the vine. Okay, a lot of you probably have had cherry tomatoes before. The new hot thing is to have tomatoes on the vine. We've come out with our own cherry tomatoes on the vine. Why? What's the benefit? The benefit is that the longer the tomato can stay on the vine, the more fully ripe it's going to be. And whenever it is fully ripened on the vine, you're going to have a very strong aroma. You're going to have a great depth of flavor. And you're also going to have a bit more nutrition that has had time to concentrate in those tomatoes. Okay. These are great for snacking, of course, to put on salads. But my new favorite thing to do with cherry tomatoes is to roast them in the oven or to saute them in a pan. Let them burst open and just be beautiful and tasty and full of nutrition, which this is what we're looking at in the way of tomato nutrition, especially cherry tomatoes on the vine. It's going to have high concentrations of lycopene, which is an antioxidant. It can potentially help lower our cholesterol. We've been talking about that all month. Maybe help with the risk of certain cancers. And also, lycopene can potentially help with our skin health, help in the way of sunburn protection. Lots of great benefits to lycopene. Also, they have a bit of potassium, which can help regulate blood pressure. So, a nice item there. Here is a super fun recipe. I just actually made this last week. If you're someone who likes a sheet pan meal, I'd highly encourage you to try this one out. It's a mixture of gnocchi with those cherry tomatoes and some spinach. You roast that in the oven, add some mozzarella pearls. It's very great. If you don't already follow Giant or Martin's on social media, highly encourage you to do so. I made a video of making this dish. It'll be out sometime next month. It'll walk you through the steps and make you want to make this dish even more. So, a fun one to make on a snow day with those cherry tomatoes on the vine. All right, number four, green tea. I know that Joni recently talked about hot teas, I think in January it was. So you can always go back to her recording to look more into teas specifically. But like I said, if it's possible for me to be over hot chocolate, I might be. I might be over it because I'm over the snow. I contemplated making hot chocolate last night and I was like, I don't wanna, because then it just means that you're like giving into the snow, I think. So green tea is kind of my jam lately. That's what I've been really liking. Can be an alternative to the hot chocolate, still give you that cozy feel. But then with the green tea, you can add your desired amount of sweetness, right? Charlotte and I talked a lot about hot chocolate or hot cocoa a couple weeks ago in coffee chat and how a lot of them can have added sugar. So something like a hot tea or green tea, if that's what you want to go with, you can then add your own sugar. Okay, so 1 teaspoon of sugar gives you 4 grams of added sugar, compared to a lot of hot chocolates are in the realm of 20 plus grams of added sugar. So this is a way for you to sweeten it up on your own, but still feel warm and cozy. Some other benefits to green tea is that green tea contains an antioxidant called catechin, which may provide some protective health benefits with cell damage and oxidative stress, like most antioxidants do. And then it also contains L-theanine. And this is a compound that could potentially help with boosting your mood and then overall brain and cognition health. So research still going on with that, but some lots of great reasons to be drinking it. If nothing else, just a different alternative to warm up with compared to the typical hot chocolate. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot. I wanted to add, if you do like green tea, a lot of folks don't realize that green tea does contain caffeine. So that's something to think about. We do carry decaf green tea. So that's an option if you're looking for a decaffeinated version of green tea. I almost forgot too that I have a recipe. I just getting so excited to talk about the last item here. This is a different and unique recipe. Once again, snow days if you're wanting to make soups and stews and chilies, but we want to take a bit of a switch to that. This is a green tea poached salmon with soba noodles. So you actually cook the noodles and the salmon in green tea. So you brew the green tea bags, mixing it with water, add some other items in there, and you have a really nice soba noodle dish that has the heart of green tea in it. So I thought that was something fun and different. The salmon, of course, once again, we keep talking about heart health this month being full of omega-3, which can also help with your cholesterol. So lots of good components to this noodle dish here. Okay, here is number 5, sourdough bagels. Um, this is a new item in our store, and I went this direction because it can be an alternative to bread, right? Folks talk all the time about snowstorms and let's go get our milk, egg, and bread. So this can be a switch up to the bread. It's going to be shelf stable once again. I'm going to show you the label here in a moment. You're going to see some protein in it. You're going to see some fiber in it. If you're someone who likes sourdough bread, I would highly, highly recommend trying these out. I just got a bag for the first time last week and they are delicious. And if you're someone who really likes the sour side of sourdough bread, these definitely have it, okay? So you could use them to make sandwiches. You could use them to make a pizza. You can cut them up and bake them or toast them to make croutons for a salad. Or I used to work with a store manager who said, like during a snowstorm, he always felt like people were making French toast. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, that's what you make with milk, egg, and bread. You make French toast. So you could still do that with bagels. There's lots of fun recipes out there. Just Google it to be making French toast out of bagels or like a French toast casserole with them. Same type of flavor and flair. So if you did happen to buy a lot of milk and eggs this weekend and have some left over, that could be a way to use it. Okay, so let's look at the nutrition facts here, and I'm gonna say take a deep breath and calm down as you take a look at it. Okay. Yes, we're upwards to 300 calories. That's okay. For most of us, we want to be getting it around 300 to 400 calories per meal. Okay. Calories are based off of height, weight, and age. So that's specific to each person. But I'm okay with the bagel being the meal. Add some fruits, add some veggies to it. Where folks might be getting concerned right now is the sodium. Still, though, if this is your whole meal and we're looking for about 15 to 2,000 milligrams of sodium for a low sodium diet, I still think that this fits in. Only 2 grams of added sugar, but look at that. We're getting 10 grams of protein, we're getting 4 grams of fiber, and no one said that you have to eat the whole bagel, right? You can just cut this in half and have an open face sandwich, or you'll see in a minute this pizza recipe using it, or just eat half of it with peanut butter or even cream cheese and then have your fruit with it. No one says you have to eat the whole bagel. All right, so just keep that in mind when looking at the nutrition profile of that. Here is a recipe for the pizza bagels that you can check out. I think that this can be a really fun one. Once again, if you're cooped up inside with kids or grandkids, to let them make themselves. It's just a little bit of pizza sauce. Of course, I'd encourage some chopped up veggies on there, but you could do things like pepperoni or whatever you'd like to do. Um, and some more seasonings and herbs on top if you want to make them fancy, but a fun way to use the bagels if you want to go that direction. Okay. Well, guys, here we are though about, I just keep mentioning the milk, the eggs, the bread. I didn't talk about eggs and milk today. I only talked about the alternative to bread. So what about them? Okay, number one, we chatted a lot about Eggland's Best this month. So check out our YouTube channel to learn more about eggs, especially eggs from Eggland's Best. Okay, so those are there. And what about the milk? So if you're interested in knowing more about milk, tune in to Fresh Finds next Tuesday. I'll be on again. And we'll be in March already, if you can believe that. But we're going to take a deep dive into all of our Nature's Promise milk that we carry. So don't worry, I didn't forget about those types of things. Tune in for more of that next week. Okay, but what about this week? All right, tomorrow Jenna is going to be on, and we're going to finish out our heart health edition of Living Well with a Ask the Dietitian session. So come prepared for that. That's going to be a good time for her to delve into some questions. And then on Thursday, Charlotte and I will be on for coffee chat. And we're going to be celebrating National Pistachio Day featuring California grown pistachios. So that is going to be a fun one. We have lots of great things to be chatting about during that class to wrap up our heart health month. And then, like I said, we're in March already, so the snow really should be over, right? Although I do remember, quick little story, I think it was my second spring break from college, maybe my first. And it was in March. I remember it was like the first or second week of March. I came home from Virginia Tech to Pennsylvania, and it snowed a lot. Like it was not a spring break by any means. So who knows? I'm not going to say there's more on the way because I don't want there to be more on the way. But if there is, you are now prepared with 5 fresh find items to add to your snow day shopping list. Okay. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. It was certainly a pleasure. I had a wonderful time. I hope you did as well. So thank you and take care for, the rest of your day and your week. And I will see you again soon on Thursday. But at this time, I'm going to stop our recording, check out our Q&A. So if you have any questions, now is the time to drop them in there. You have to leave completely fine too. Thanks, guys.